Buenos dias from Greenway Parks. This is the Rorschach Argentina update from the 13th of March, 2025. A quick summary of what's going down in Argentina. We have to begin this episode with some tragic news. On Thursday the 6th, a catastrophic storm dropped a year's worth of rain in just hours on the city of Bahía, Blanca, in Buenos Aires, forcing hundreds to evacuate, flooding hospitals and submerging entire neighborhoods. The death toll from the devastating flood has climbed to 16, and authorities are still working to locate 2 young girls who are missing. As the floodwaters recede, the city faces immense destruction, with cities covered in mud, homes in ruins, prolonged power outages, and schools badly damaged. Thousands remain displaced, and authorities fear more casualties. With power still out in many areas, security forces are patrolling to prevent looting. The government has declared 3 days of national mourning for the victims and initially allocated 10 billion pesos, which is about $8 million, toward rebuilding efforts. Then, Axel Kicillof, the Buenos Aires governor, unveiled a 273 billion pesos, over $200 million, relief package as he emphasized the state's role in disaster response, subtly criticizing President Milei's anti-government stance. A couple of days later, President Milei visited the city, facing heavy criticism for his delayed response, and pledged 200 million pesos, instead around $185 million, for reconstruction. Meanwhile, military forces have joined rescue operations while emergency shelters have been set up in Army and naval bases. To bolster the strained healthcare system, the government has also dispatched ambulances, medical supplies, and a mobile hospital. Help is not only coming from the government. Organizations, football clubs, and charities have mobilized nationwide to provide aid and continue to do so. A train packed with donations left Buenos Aires for Bahía Blanca on Tuesday the 11th. Volunteers filled 11 cars with food, clothing, mattresses, and hygiene products. If you'd like to help, check out the link in the show notes for details on where and how to donate. Since we brought up Governor Kicillof, he suggested during the relief package announcement that Milei should direct part of Argentina's new loan from the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, toward rebuilding Bahía Blanca, instead of engaging in financial speculation. Here's the context. On Tuesday the 11th, President Milei bypassed Congress and unilaterally approved the new IMF agreement through an emergency decree. The decree leaves critical details unclear, such as the loan amount, repayment terms, and economic policies, sparking alarm among opposition leaders. Legal experts insist the move violates the Constitution, as a 2021 law mandates congressional approval for any new IMF agreements. While Congress can debate and potentially overturn the decree, it remains valid unless both chambers vote to reject it. Milei defended his decision, pointing to Argentina's dire financial circumstances. In other news, Saturday the 8th marked International Women's Day. Thousands of protesters packed the streets of Buenos Aires to condemn Milei's policies, which many view as a regression for women's rights. Demonstrators criticized budget cuts to gender violence programs and the dismantling of key institutions, such as the Women, Gender, and Diversity Ministry. The protest also shed light on the persistent tragedy of femicide, with NGOs laying out shoes to honor the victims. It wasn't the only protest of the week. Clashes erupted in Buenos Aires on Wednesday the 12th as retirees protesting pension cuts were joined by football fans in a tense demonstration near Congress. Riot police responded with tear gas, water cannons, and rubber bullets, leading to 124 arrests and at least 20 injuries. Demonstrators accused the government of using excessive force, while officials blame hooligans for the violence. A shocking video of an officer pushing an elderly woman went viral, fueling outrage. Many pensioners say they can't afford basic necessities under Milei's austerity measures, and a proposed bonus does little to help. As night fell, spontaneous protests surged, spread across the city. Another major story dominating headlines involves the trial of the death of football star Diego Maradona. This week, the trial began for 7 medical professionals accused of alleged criminal negligence in his care during his final days. The trial opened with a dramatic moment as prosecutor Patricio Ferrari presented a shocking photo of Maradona on his deathbed to the court. The image, showing his severely bloated abdomen, served as evidence to argue that the accused healthcare workers failed to provide adequate treatment, ultimately leading to his death. Ferrari asserted that anyone who didn't recognize the severity of his condition was lying, suggesting that the doctors could be responsible for a homicide with possible intent. The trial is set to run until July, and defendants could face prison sentences if convicted of causing Maradona's death through negligence. Speaking of health matters, the government has decided to close Argentina's National Cancer Institute, citing inefficiencies and overlapping functions with other state bodies. The health ministry announced that the institute would be absorbed into the ministry itself to streamline operations and improve oversight. Experts worry this move weakens cancer policies and could disrupt access to medications and treatments. Also from the health ministry, a new report reveals that Argentina's birth rate continues to decline, with 2023 registering a 7% drop in births compared to 2022. The downward trend has been ongoing for nearly 2 decades and reflects global fertility declines, particularly among adolescents and women with lower education levels. Experts see this shift as a chance to expand opportunities for women in education and employment, potentially boosting the nation's human capital. Sadly, poverty rates show no sign of improvement. A recent report from the Catholic University of Argentina reveals that multidimensional poverty in the country has risen from 39.8% in 2023 to 41.6% in 2024. The report highlights the growing number of working poor, the expansion of informal and precarious jobs, and the increasing cost of public services, all of which are putting additional pressure on households. In stark contrast to rising poverty rates, Argentina's strong peso has fueled a boom in cross-border tourism to Chile, creating a windfall for retailers and airlines there. In 2024, over 2 million Argentinians visited Chile, a 73% increase from the previous year. Major companies like Falabella and LATAM Airlines reported sharp revenue growth, with Falabella's retail sales rising by 21%. Tourists are heading to Chile to benefit from lower prices and looser restrictions on foreign spending. Back to Argentina's side of the border, the wine industry is flourishing, with exports nearing $2 billion in 2024, a 15% increase from 2023. The country is now the world's 11th largest wine exporter by volume and ranks 9th in global consumption. Argentina's viticulture covers 18 provinces, boasting nearly 200,000 hectares of vineyards. On that note about exports, Shell and Chevron have signed on to the Vaca Muerta Sur pipeline project, which aims to dramatically increase Argentina's oil exports. The project, led by a consortium including YPF, Pan American Energy, Pampa Energía, Vista Energy, and Plus Petrol, involves constructing a 437-kilometer or 271-mile pipeline to link the Vaca Muerta oil fields with the export terminal in Punta Colorado, Rio Negro. With an estimated $3 billion investment, the pipeline is projected to generate up to $15 billion in annual export revenue, potentially reaching $20 billion with future expansions. In an effort to tackle shadier businesses, the government enacted a new Anti-Mafia Law to crack down on organized crime, increasing penalties for gang members involved in drug trafficking, money laundering, extortion, and human trafficking. The law defines criminal organizations as groups of 3 or more people operating in a coordinated way over time. It also introduces stricter criteria for identifying gang activity and allows authorities to detain suspects for up to 48 hours with prosecutorial approval. Those who participate in or assist criminal organizations now face sentences of 8 to 20 years. To end on a lighter note, a recommendation for all bird lovers out there. The Buenos Aires HERALD published a guide to bird watching in Buenos Aires, specifically at the Costanera Sur Ecological Reserve. The reserve, covering 350 hectares, houses over 2,000 species of plants and animals, including 350 bird species. It offers trails for walking, jogging, and cycling as a peaceful escape from urban life. Link in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. If you have any feedback, send us an email at info@rorschach.com. We want to make our updates better for you. Nos vemos la próxima semana.